DHHF looks like the ETF you buy when you want investing to be simple. One product, low cost, a mix of Australian and global shares. It's automatically managed for you and it's super tidy. But there's a bit of a catch. Simple does not mean it's safe. And simple definitely does not mean that the ETF has a built-in financial plan for you.
Should I buy that ETF?
Today we're looking at the Betashares Diversified All Growth ETF, DHHF. We're not trying to work out if it's a good or bad investment option. We're trying to ask the questions that an advisor would ask when trying to build this as a part of a portfolio. The main question there is, what job do I actually want DHHF to do in my financial life? Because even though a product can be simple to buy, it still requires you to think very carefully about how it fits. Imagine you have $50,000 invested in DHHF, and then a major geopolitical shock hits global markets and shares fall by 20%. Your investment could now be worth roughly $40,000 on paper. That's a $10,000 fall. DHHF does not move into cash because the news gets frightening. It doesn't know that you've got a mortgage and it's just gone up. It doesn't know that your job feels less secure than it did 6 months ago. It just keeps doing what it's designed to do. And that's the risk we really need to examine. DHHF is designed to give investors a diversified portfolio of shares through the one ETF. According to the fund's information, it has about 8,000 companies across Australia, the United States, as well as developed markets and emerging markets as well. The current allocation listed is about 35% in Australian shares, about 42% in US shares, 17% in other developed markets outside of the US, and around 6% in emerging markets, which makes sense due to the extreme risk that can come from emerging markets. These figures do change regularly, so it's really important to check the latest fund information before relying on those. The key point is not the exact percentage of each region. The key point is that DHHF is designed to hold 100% growth assets. In plain English, that means shares. There is absolutely no dedicated defensive allocation designed to soften falls in the way that cash or bonds may do. So DHHF is diversified, but it's not a balanced fund or a growth fund in the traditional sense because it doesn't have that breakdown between growth and defensive assets. Diversification answers this question. Am I spreading my money across different companies and different markets? Defensive assets answer a different question. What is designed to soften the impact when growth assets fall? DHHF deals with the first question. It definitely does not solve the second one. And I think this is where a lot of people really get confused because they see thousands of different companies and they assume that DHHF must be relatively safe because it's got such broad amounts of diversification. But the reality of financial markets is that thousands of shares can all fall together at the same time. There are a lot of good reasons people find DHHF attractive. It's very simple. You don't have to choose several separate funds and constantly decide how much is going into each one. The fund is designed to manage the allocation internally, and it gives you broad exposure in one holding. The management fee is super cheap at 0.19%, though there seems to be a lot of people on the internet that find that expensive, which is crazy. And it doesn't tell you whether your super already contains the same investment options. And it certainly doesn't tell you how you're going to behave when the market falls. A cheap product can still be the wrong product for the job. A cheap mistake is still a mistake. Let's stress test DHHF. This is a hypothetical example, not a prediction. Imagine you're invested in DHHF and a major geopolitical conflict causes global markets to fall sharply. The exact event doesn't really matter. It could be a military conflict or a trade shock or an energy crisis or sudden recession scare, which pretty much just sounds like the last 2 years. The point is that share markets fall by 20%. You've got $50,000 invested here. A 20% fall is $10,000, it's real money. So your balance is now down to around $40,000. If you had $100,000 in there, that'd be a $20,000 fall. The numbers are pretty simple, but the behavior is not. You might still have the same number of units, but the value has fallen. And because DHHF is 100% growth, you should expect it to participate in that volatility. You should expect it to come down in price as well. There is no cash reserve inside DHHF if your car breaks down or you have an unexpected bill or a period without work. There's no mechanism that says this investor just lost their job, let's reduce their risk. That is not what DHHF is designed to do. Now, a fall does not automatically mean that the investment has failed. Growth assets can fall. It's a fairly normal function as a part of owning shares. That's just part of the deal. The real question is what happens next. Do you have enough cash outside of this portfolio that you can just leave the investment alone? Do you understand why you actually own the investment option, or have you just picked it up because someone said it was the right one for you? And are you going to sell it suddenly just because you need money? Because in the event the market's down, if you sell, you're going to guarantee that you've received a loss. The real stress test here is not whether DHHF can fall, because it can. The real question is whether your financial life is structured so that you don't have to make a forced decision at the worst possible time. Betashares suggests a minimum investment time frame of 5 years or more. This is a useful guide, but it's not a guarantee. 5 years can sound like a long time when you were just starting out, but for a 100% growth portfolio, 5 years may not provide as much comfort as people assume. Because when you have a long investment time frame like this, you really need to start thinking about things that are going to happen in your future. Like in the next 5 years, you might buy a home or have kids. You might change careers or start a business. You might receive a large medical bill, and you might retire earlier than you had expected. Your time frame is not just the date you've written on a spreadsheet. It's the date when you might actually need the money. And that's why, as advisors, we don't really start out by going, has DHHF performed well? The first question that we really ask is, what is this money for, and when am I actually going to need it? Because if it's genuinely for long-term wealth building and you have other resources available for shorter-term needs, all growth may be easier to understand for your situation. But if the money might be needed for a house deposit in 2 years' time, or you've got an approaching retirement or a major life expense, the situation becomes a lot more complicated. DHHF cannot tell whether your investor is 28 and investing for the next 30 years or 61 and hoping to stop work soon. The product sees units. You own those units. That's it. You've got a life attached to the back end of this, and you need to make the decision about whether or not it's going to be right. There is another bit of a problem that pops up with investments like this. There can be a bit of an overlap because most working Australians in Australia have superannuation, and not everyone's super is super aggressive. It really depends on the fund, the investment option you choose, your age, and your personal circumstances. But your super may already contain substantial exposure to growth assets. Here's a simple example. Someone says, I have DHHF, an Australian shares ETF, a global shares ETF, and my super is in high growth. At first glance, that sounds like 4 different strategies. But when you actually look underneath the hood, there may be very similar share market exposure in 4 different wrappers. They might have different labels, but they've still got the same underlying risks because you own the same stuff. It's a bit like buying the same ingredient in 4 different packets and calling it a varied dinner. It's the same thing. The packaging might be different, the ingredient may not be. This doesn't automatically mean that you should just put a line through DHHF and say it's unsuitable. Some overlap can be completely deliberate and makes a lot of sense. The issue is accidental overlap. You need to check the actual underlying investment options and underlying holdings before assuming that owning more products means you are more diversified. The most useful question here is, What exposure am I already paying for, and what additional job would DHHF perform as a part of everything that I've got? That is better than simply counting the number of ETFs in your account. One of DHHF's useful features is internal rebalancing. The fund is designed to manage its asset allocation over time. That creates discipline. It means the fund is not simply left to drift forever. But here's the distinction. Rebalancing the fund is not the same as rebalancing your life. DHHF can adjust the mix inside the portfolio. So while rebalancing is useful, it still can't increase your emergency fund, pay your mortgage, reduce your risk because retirement's getting closer. It can't notice that your employment has become less secure. It can't ask whether your super option has changed. Can't stop you from selling because you're frightened about the market dropping. The fund manages the fund. You still have to manage the investor. And my experience as an advisor usually tells me that the investor is the biggest risk when it comes to an investment portfolio, because we're the irrational ones. Markets are volatile, but at least they are honest about being a problem. Human behavior often arrives wearing a sensible t-shirt. It tells you that waiting for certainty is being responsible. Sometimes that is sensible decision making. Sometimes it's fear with better vocabulary. DHHF's low cost is a legitimate strength, but it is only one part of the decision. The fee does not decide how much you should invest, whether the money belongs inside or outside super, how much cash you need available just to manage your ongoing life if something gets a bit messy. It doesn't know what risk level is appropriate for you, and it doesn't know what you will do during a market fall. These questions are the difference between a product and a plan. A product is something that you can just go out and buy whenever you want it. But a plan explains why you own it, what job it performs, and what you will do when circumstances change. DHHF can be one part of that plan. It cannot be the plan by itself. These are the 5 questions that I would ask as an advisor if I was trying to identify whether this is the right option for me. And if you cannot answer them immediately, that doesn't mean that DHHF is wrong for you. It means that you need to think more clearly about the job it's doing. So, question 1. What job is DHHF meant to do? Is this your main long-term growth investment? Is it replacing several separate ETFs? Is it a small satellite holding? Is it being used as a part of your super strategy? Is it simply something you contribute to regularly? There really isn't a universal answer, but you really need to be careful, because if your answer is just something like everyone online seems to like it, that's not really a job, that's just you taking a punt and hoping it works out. Question 2, is the money genuinely long-term? Could you need this money again within the next 5 years? Could your time frame change? Would a 20% fall create a practical problem, or would it simply be an uncomfortable account balance? A long time frame can help you deal with volatility, but only if you can actually remain invested. A spreadsheet can say 20 years, your behavior might say 2 months. If you're the type of person who's going to panic, you need to look long and hard about whether an ETF like this is right for you. Question 3 is, where are your defensive assets and cash buffers? If DHHF is an all-growth investment option, defensive part of your broader financial life, is it in cash, an offset account, a term deposit, bonds, elsewhere? Maybe it's in a more defensive super option. The answer will be different for different people here, but the answer needs to be an answer. If DHHF is your entire financial safety net, it may be doing a job it was never designed to do. Question 4, does DHHF duplicate what you already own? Check your super investment options, check your other ETFs, check whether you already own Australian shares, international shares, or another diversified growth fund. You can go to these fund websites and you can literally see the exact investment options these are invested in. That is down to the exact share. You know how much Microsoft, you know how much Apple, you know how much Meta that you have in any of these. Some overlap may be okay, but accidental overlap can make your portfolio riskier and more complicated without giving you a clear benefit. Question 5, Could you hold this through a bad market and still understand why you own it? Imagine your balance is down, the headlines are ugly, your friends are telling you that they have sold. Could you still explain why DHHF is in your portfolio? Not why you bought it when everything was going up in price, because it's really easy to hold things when things go up. Why do you still own it now? If you can't answer that, it doesn't automatically mean that DHHF is wrong. It may mean that the plan around it is not really clear enough yet. And it's really important for you to get on the right page to make sure you understand that this is the right investment option for you. DHHF is not a bad product simply because it's too aggressive. It is designed to be aggressive. That's the point. It may be useful for an investor who wants broad, low-cost, all-growth exposure and has a genuinely long-term time frame. It may be perfect for an investor who understands the volatility and has the rest of their financial life ranged around that risk. But DHHF is not a defensive portfolio, a cash reserve, a retirement income plan, a guarantee against poor investment behavior, or a shortcut around understanding what you own. A broad, simple, and potentially useful tool. That's DHHF. And DHHF is exceptional at being that. The main question here is really not whether DHHF is the best ETF. If DHHF is in my portfolio, what is it there to do? That's it. That question takes you away from collecting products and back towards building your own plan. Because the goal is not to look like you are investing properly. The goal is to make sure your hard work, your sacrifices, and every little bit of extra overtime you're doing leads somewhere meaningful. In the next video, we'll have a look at how an all-growth ETF like DHHF compares with a portfolio that includes defensive assets, and why that makes a difference when your money has a deadline.